Halito! Sa hochifo ya Amber Buker, chatasia hoki Tulsa mitili. Hello, my name is Amber Buker. I'm Choctaw. I'm from Tulsa. And where I come from, Native culture is everywhere. Over half of the state of Oklahoma is reservation land. And when you're driving on our highways and you look around, you might notice that there are more license plates bearing the names of tribal nations than there are the state of Oklahoma. This was a really special place to grow up because I had access to cultural resources and elders that helped my sister and I connect with our community. And growing up here, I think I took that for granted, and I didn't realize how special that level of visibility is for Native Americans in my home state. Until I started to experience life outside of Oklahoma, traveling and spending time in financial centers of power in my work with bank leaders. And I realized that Native visibility is actually not that prevalent in other places, and not just particular geographies, but in entire sectors of the economy. Take financial services, where I had a personal experience with this issue. I was trying to buy my first home. My tribe had a down payment assistance program that I was trying to take advantage of, but my bank had no clue how to help me. They weren't interested in calling my tribe to intercede on my behalf and help me access the program. And even worse, no one ever mentioned to me that we had access to Section 184 mortgages that would have given me a lower down payment anyways. It was a really painful experience that pushed my home buying journey back by a couple of years. And I just remember being struck by how invisible I felt. Native people, but also our benefits, our issues, our resources, were all completely invisible to traditional financial services. And the more I dug, the more I realized this is true in many ways. Natives travel 3 times further to get to financial services than other Americans. We're young and more likely to be credit invisible, which makes it difficult for us to access even basic financial products. And our lived experience is completely unaccounted for when the leaders of financial services put rules and procedures into place. For example, if you live on a remote reservation, there's a pretty good chance that you might not have a physical address where you can get mail delivered, so you rely on a P.O. box. But banks won't mail a debit card to a P.O. box typically. All of these issues create an experience where Natives are left out. And as I was doing research, I realized that there's really no reason for that. There are lots of ways that we can take down these barriers to access for our people. And I was pretty confident that we could build a banking app that they would love and that would fill our unique needs. So I did just about the craziest thing you could do in this situation, which is decide to embark on a journey to raise millions of dollars and build a company. Oh man, but Native invisibility plagued me there too. All too often, conversations with venture capitalists would devolve into me answering Indian 101 questions, and institutional investors just weren't familiar enough with tribes and sovereignty and reservation systems to cut through that noise and really see the value proposition for the company that I wanted to build. And this is by design. The issue of Native invisibility is actually a very unassuming but pernicious form of racism in the US against Native Americans today. And it goes all the way back to the founding of our country, to a concept called manifest destiny, which was the idea, a religious philosophy, that settlers had been divinely ordained to come to this great land and to conquer and civilize the people that were already here, whether that be through assimilation, genocide, or any other means necessary. But it didn't work. In case you didn't notice, we're still here. Native culture, Native dances, Native songs, Native languages, Native bodies still exist. Tribal sovereignty still exists. So what's the dominant culture to do? Well, they relegate us to being invisible. How do we do that? Well, we hold Natives up as historical figures of a bygone romantic era, or as merciless savages full of civil disobedience, or simple cartoons, caricatures, mascots, make-believe. but we do still exist. And in fact, Native networks are stronger than ever. It was actually through the Moccasin Telegraph, aka the grapevine, that's what we call it, Moccasin Telegraph, that Totem got its start. And that came from one of my Native sisters who saw what we were doing, believed in me, convinced me that I could do it, and then made the introduction that we needed to get to Raven Indigenous Capital Partners, a venture capital firm led by Indigenous people that understood the need that we were trying to fill. We were able to raise the money that we needed to build Totem, and I'm proud to announce that our consumer accounts launched on July 3rd of 2023. We're working every day at Totem to correct the inequities that invisibility visits upon our people. But luckily, you don't have to raise millions of dollars and do it the hard way like I did in order to support our mission to decolonize wealth. There are things that each and every one of you in this room today can do to support that work. At Totem, we talk a lot about the work of Edgar Villanueva, who wrote an incredible book called Decolonizing Wealth. And in it, he says that his definition of decolonization that we've adopted is really about creating spaces where Indigenous people can connect, relate, and belong within financial realms. So, if you're an investor, you control the conversations that you have with people seeking funding. How are your preconceived notions that you're bringing to that conversation, or the acronyms that you casually toss about, or even the way that you frame a conversation, blocking potential for a more productive exchange of ideas? If you're an institutional funder, what does your ivory tower look like? Is it a place where the funders and those seeking funding are kept separate or on pedestals? Or is it a place where people are free to engage on equal footing? If you're a local business leader or a CEO, are you communicating with local Native leaders? Are you asking them to be on their boards? Are you seeking out their opinion on the impacts your company might be having on the community? And are you asking them about how their ancient wisdom might hold the key to unlocking modern problems you're trying to solve? For everyone else in the room, do you know whose land you live, work, and play on? Decolonization is something that we can all be a part of, and it's something that we should. Villanueva writes that it's only through examining the ways that the dominant culture has overtaken each of our own lives that we can understand what that means and begin to grieve, and therefore, through that process, transform tragedy, transform trauma. Totem is an exercise in that transformation, ongoing every day. And now you hold the keys that you need to walk with us in our shared mission to decolonize wealth. Yakoki.